Welcome back to AM Northwest. Our next guest is a parenting expert who says we can't force motivation in our kids, but we can help them unlock it. Here to share his always helpful tips, we welcome back Ishai Busi. Good to see you again.
Great to be here.
This is a fascinating topic because I would just assume that every kid is motivated by doing well or by praise. That's what I would think. But you say that's not the case.
They're not. So kids grow up learning that they need to follow directions. They need to do what they're told. They need to do what they're asked. And so they try to do the best they can with that. But when they become teenagers, it's no longer about what do you want me to do? They need to develop autonomy. They need to figure out what they want. What is their inner why? And so that's really an important switch for them that we need to support them with, because so many kids are doing what they're doing for parent approval,
right,
for coaches, for teachers. And that undermines their autonomy, and eventually they just lose motivation because, like, why am I doing this?
Right. So how do you suggest that we find out, if we have a teenager, find out what motivates them?
So kids all want to do well. Young people all want to do well. So you have to ask them, what do you want in your life? And they will say, I want to do well. I want to be successful. I want to graduate from high school. Some want to go to college. Others may not, but they want to do well in their life. So then it becomes, that's their why. Not for me, but for you. What do you want? And then how do I help you get there and accomplish the goals that you set for yourself? It's a shift.
Okay. So then how do you figure it out?
So asking them those questions, and then they'll say, I do want to do well in school. Okay, so how do we help you be successful in that? Because let's just say, for example, you're struggling. You're failing a couple classes, but you want to do well. So how do we help you do that?
So you talk about then creating habits and routines that will help them.
Right. So every morning I brush my teeth and I take a shower. I don't need motivation to do that. They're not particularly fun things, but I do it every morning because it's a habit and it's a routine.
Oh, sure.
I don't even have to think about it. So habits and routines help unlock that motivation. So creating some consistency for them. So if we take schoolwork, for an example, doing work in the same place, doing work at the same time is going to create a situation where their brain just associates, let's say 4 o'clock, from 4 to 5, I'm going to sit down at this table and get work done. After a while, habits get developed, and they don't have to think so much about making decisions. Decisions are stressful. But if it's a different time every day, some days I do it, some days I do it at 11, some days I do my work at 4, some days I don't do it at all, then it's harder to get motivated because they have to think so much about what they're doing.
So, and you talk about so making it a habit and also picking a place that's conducive to studying. Whatever works for them.
Whatever works for them. And that's a hard thing because they might want to do homework in bed. Bed is not a good place to do homework, for example, because we want, ideally, to get good sleep, you want to associate, our brains make associations and they get paired with experiences. So ideally, a bed is for sleeping. Right. That's why libraries are a good place to do schoolwork, for example, or a cleared off office space or a desk that this is where I do homework. So then the second you sit there, your brain thinks, I'm ready to do homework. Right. But when I go to bed and sometimes I need to sleep and sometimes I'm doing homework and sometimes I'm watching TV, our brains get confused and it's harder to develop.
Do you suggest that teenagers, I'm going to say, let's say there's a desk in their room, a place to sit and study, and you say, okay, every day, 4 o'clock for an hour, here's where you are.
It will become easier and easier. Habits and routines are hard to get started. Right. Because it just takes effort. Right. But the beauty of it is, within a couple weeks, it doesn't take any effort. You just sit down and it just happens. So for parents, it does take effort. You want to get your kiddo to agree, come up with an agreement. There will be resistance at first because it's new and they're not going to feel like it. They're not going to want to. So you're going to have to come back to the agreement. Over time, it will get easier and easier and they'll just do it. And it will make getting work done so much easier. And then you say, watch the progress, see how it's going. Yeah. So video games, such a popular thing. Right. One of the things that make video games so motivating and popular, and video game designers know this, is there's always a progress bar. There's always how many laps there are to go. You know where you are in relationship to other players. You know how you're doing. Are you first, second, fifth? I'm usually first or second. No offense to my kids. But you know, and that's motivating. Right. How are you doing? So when it comes to schoolwork, it's helpful for kids to know, like, how am I doing? Am I making progress? We need to help them see that they are making progress. One way to do that is to create lists and chunks. Kids can get overwhelmed. I have so much to do.
Sure.
Just do this little bit right here. Create a checklist, cross it off when you get this assignment done, cross it off when you get that assignment done so you can see you're making progress. That will be motivating for them.
And then you say work through the first 10 minutes because the first 10 minutes is usually the most challenging.
We know this as adults. A lot of it is we just got to push through that little bit and then it's smooth sailing.
Right.
But kids think that first 10 minutes it's just overwhelming and too much. So giving them some support to just sit down for 15 minutes.
It seems to me that when I've heard, like, when kids enter college, the biggest problem they have is learning how to set up a study routine. And this kind of sets them up in high school to then take that to college.
And adulthood, exactly.
Right.
These are habits for life. These are things that we take for granted, but as adults, we have to learn them. So we have to help them learn it. Like, yeah, you don't feel like it. It's the last thing you want to do.
Right.
But that's why, again, creating habits and routines, get through that first 10, 15 minutes, and they'll learn that over time. Oh, yeah, I just need to set a little bit of time, and then it'll be easier, and I'll get through it.
Great tips, Ishai. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We're going to put everything on our website at k2.com, and we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away. Great.